So Josh Warrington stops Kiko Martinez in 7 rounds to once again become the IBF World Featherweight Champion. Now, for me, this was virtually a punch-perfect performance by Josh Warrington. He'd obviously fought Kiko Martinez before back in 2017, but this time it was a much older version of Kiko Martinez, and I think Josh Warrington knew that he was more vulnerable, as in Martinez was more vulnerable, having watched him against Kid Galahad. And yes, he knocked out Kid Galahad, but as I said in my pre-fight video, he looked very shaky in the early rounds against Galahad. He looked like a guy with cobwebs and rust in his body, and a guy who could be overwhelmed if somebody jumped on him. Galahad did that in spots in the early rounds against Kiko Martinez, but he didn't sustain it. He let Martinez off the hook. He let Martinez start coming forward at him. And of course, Kid Galahad isn't a high volume fighter. He doesn't throw that many shots, and he likes to move around the ring and what have you. And that gives Kiko Martinez more of an opportunity to come forward and get back into it. But Josh Warrington is, as we know, a much more high volume fighter than Kid Galahad. And he's a guy who has fast hands, and when he spots an opportunity to pin you down and start laying into you, he takes it. He's all in. He's not half-hearted when he starts letting his combinations go. And I felt with Josh Warrington, and of course, Josh Warrington's a guy who keeps his hands up, right? Fights out of a high guard, unlike Kid Galahad, who keeps his hands low. So I just felt like stylistically, there's an opportunity there for Josh Warrington to really jump on this guy if he manages to hurt him early. And that's exactly what happened. Comes out in the first round, testing the waters, and he was countering Kiko Martinez with combinations. See, this is very important. Kid Galahad would counter with 1 or 2 shots. You know, he's quite methodical and relatively one-paced, Kid Galahad. But Josh Warrington has several gears, and he can go through the gears very quickly. And so he would wait in kind of long range, mid-distance with a high guard. Martinez throws a jab, bang, Warrington counters with a right hand, and he starts laying into him with combinations, pushing him back, and Martinez is overwhelmed. And then, of course, the cut happens, and I'll come on to the cut a little bit later, or the cuts, plural, a little bit later on. And that seemed to spur Josh Warrington on, of course, when he saw blood. He saw the guy get cut. I'm sure Josh Warrington was confident going into the fight because he's already fought Kiko Martinez. But there would have been some demons from the Lara fight, the first Lara fight still. I mean, I was watching an ESPN show the other weekend, and Andre Ward was commentating, and he spoke about the fact that early on in his career when he got hurt, I have to imagine he was talking about the Darnell Boone fight. He said that he was questioning his own punch resistance for a few fights after that. It knocked his confidence. And so when he went in the ring subsequently, he was concerned about being hit. And this is the great Andre Ward, right? So there are going to be some fighters, of course, who can get over these things instantaneously. But for most fighters, it leaves lingering doubts when they've been dropped and hurt, and certainly stopped the way that Josh Warrington was. So I'm sure there was some lingering doubts in there, despite the fact he's been in there with Kiko Martinez before, because Kiko Martinez is a big puncher. But once he saw that he could overwhelm, he was so much faster. You know, Martinez's foot speed nowhere near as quick as it used to be, not as well coordinated, not as accurate as he was 5 years ago. And Warrington sensed all this, I think. And when the cut happened, again, it was like a red flag to a bull. Warrington was all over this guy and pushed Kiko Martinez back to the ropes, and then landed with a tremendous right hand. When Martinez was trying to land his own shot, Warrington got in there with a faster hands, and he was in a better position to land his shot. And down went Kiko Martinez. Martinez was complaining about the head clash. He was complaining about this, that, and the other. I guess when the head clash happened, he thought that the referee should have stopped the action at that point. You know, like, whoa, 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 there's been a clash of heads, and, you know, take him to the corner and let the doctor look at the cut, etc., etc. But the doctor didn't do any of that. The referee didn't do any of that. He just let the action go on, and then Josh Warrington scored that knockdown. So I'm sure Kiko Martinez is probably pretty upset about the way that fight turned out. Now, the next couple rounds, Warrington again was trying to put it on Kiko Martinez, trying to get him out of there. And again, this is exactly what I spoke about in my pre-fight video. I said, if he sees weakness in Martinez, if he hurts him or shakes him, you got to jump on this guy, push him back. He can't fight on the back foot, yeah? Don't give the old man opportunities to come forward at you. He was a short guy, you know? Don't give him opportunities to gain momentum. He looked shaky against Galahad. Warrington's got the kind of hand speed and the intensity in his combinations, I think, to maybe take this guy out. And so he tried for a couple more rounds, but Kiko Martinez, being incredibly tough, was able to weather the storm. And that's when a couple more cuts occurred. Kiko Martinez was cut badly over both eyes, and he was eventually cut on the forehead. Now, when you take this and combine it with Mauricio Lara being cut in Josh Warrington's previous fight, right? That was a rematch. you have to start wondering whether this is deliberate by Josh Warrington. I know the replay of the first head clash didn't look deliberate, but some people are suggesting that Warrington is very clever and he doesn't necessarily headbutt you, but he's deliberately reckless with his head, hoping that it's going to result in a cut. Because it's quite unusual for a taller guy to cut a shorter guy several times. Normally when there's a head clash, the shorter guy comes off best. But, to look at the other side of that, Josh Warrington understands how to fight on the inside. He understands that if you're up against a short-armed puncher like Kiko Martinez, you have to get inside of his very, very short wheelhouse, right? His very small, short, compact punches. You have to get inside those when you're on the inside. And to be able to do that, you've got to actually get lower than him. You see, you've got to make yourself smaller than Martinez if you're going to fight him on the inside. Because if not, he's going to get the better of the exchanges. You've got to make yourself really small. And so in doing that, your head is perhaps going to be in Kiko Martinez's face at times, just to be fair about the situation. I'm not exonerating Josh Warrington here, okay? But I am pointing out the fact that when you're fighting somebody on the inside, particularly a shorter guy, just like, again, Holyfield when he fought Tyson, he had to get low on the inside against Tyson, because if your head is high up or higher up than the shorter guy who's got faster hands than you, who's a bigger puncher than you, that's a recipe for disaster. So Holyfield understood he needed to get his head on Tyson's chest, even though he's a taller man, to try and smother Tyson and control him on the inside. And that's what Josh Warrington did against Kiko Martinez. So again, I'm not exonerating him. I'm not saying that he doesn't deliberately look for opportunities to cut people. I'm not saying he doesn't. I'm not saying he doesn't in this particular instance. In the Lara fight, I was a bit suspicious. In this fight here, I'd need to see slow-mo replays of the other two head clashes that caused those cuts. But irrespective of cuts, personally, in my view, Josh Warrington would have won anyway. That's just my personal opinion. I can't prove it, but in my personal opinion, Josh Warrington would have won anyway, because I just feel like he had the fight under control from the very beginning. He had the initiative. From a tactical point of view, he was getting the better of it. Yeah. The only criticism I'd have is, again, through, I want to say maybe the third, fourth, fifth round, around there, Warrington was moving a little bit too much for my liking, and that was allowing Martinez to come forward. And I know it's easier said than done to keep Martinez on the back foot, but that's what I was telling people in the Element group. He needs to keep Martinez on the back foot. Don't give this guy opportunities. He's an old man. Keep him pushed back. He can't fight backing up. By hook or by crook, just keep him pushed back like John Ruiz, the heavyweight from back in the days. Horrendous fighter to watch, but quite effective actually, because he would just keep you on the back foot. By hook or by, even though it was ugly, he would just keep you backing up. Matt Skelton, domestic British heavyweight from back in the days, same thing, same principle. Just keep the opponent backed up no matter what. And that's what I was saying to people in the Element group, during the fight itself, in those rounds where Warrington was moving a little bit too much and allowing Martinez, not like Martinez was winning the rounds, but he was just allowing him off the hook and allowing him to get into positions where he could start trying to set up the right hand again. But like I said earlier, Josh Warrington, unlike Galahad, keeps his hands up. So it's not quite so easy for Martinez to get them shots through as it was against Galahad. With that being said, he still managed to get something through because he broke Josh Warrington's jaw. You wouldn't have known it from the post-fight interview because Josh Warrington was, talking to Eddie Hearn and the DAZN presenters and so on, and obviously talking to his crowd there, his adoring fans. But yeah, anyway, fight went on. Warrington started jumping on Martinez again, sensing the end, pinned him on the ropes in the 7th round, overwhelmed him. Referee jumped in and stopped it. Now, some people have complained about the stoppage. Personally, I don't think the stoppage was that bad. I'm not going to say it's the greatest stoppage in the world, but I don't think it was terrible. Martinez wasn't punching back. Yeah, a lot of the shots were blocked, but some of the shots were getting through, and Martinez was giving off body language like he was about to go. But then again, on the other side of that, you could say he's such an experienced fighter, and he's proven time and time again that he can come back from the brink of defeat, and he's got this punching power. And he was the champion. So really, you should have given him more of an opportunity, at least allow him to go down first, So I get both sides of the argument, but it wasn't a terrible stoppage for me. Yeah, just my view. Give me your view in the comment section below. Now, as far as what Josh Warrington does next, who he fights next, there's several options for him. There's obviously the fight against Lee Wood. That makes a lot of sense. He's got a mandatory apparently that he's going to have to take. And because he's IBF champion, he'll probably have to fulfill that mandatory obligation because the IBF are really, really quite strict compared to the other sanctioning bodies with regards to mandatories. So he might have to go in that direction. There's also fights over in the States that he's interested in. He said he would like to take his, was it him or was it Eddie Hearn who said he'd like to take the Leeds fans over there to Vegas or whatever. So several options for Josh Warrington, 31 years of age. A lot of people were saying that he's finished, that he's done and this, that and the other. He didn't look finished to me. He looked like a guy who still has plenty of energy, plenty of desire for the game, 31 years of age, not that old. Yes, he took a beating against Mauricio Lara, but Mauricio Lara might turn out to be a serious hombre in this featherweight division. So, we'll see how that goes. But yeah, all in all, I thought it was a good performance by Josh Warrington, and he boxed the way I, said he should, the way I thought he should in my pre-fight video. Obviously, I picked Warrington to win, but I said that if there's opportunities to jump on Martinez, he needs to jump on him. He needs to try and overwhelm him and take him out of there, because you can't, as long as Martinez is in there, he's dangerous. And as long as he's coming forward, he's dangerous. So don't allow him to come forward. If you have an opportunity to jump on the guy and overwhelm him as fast as Josh Warrington is, take that opportunity. Take this guy out. And that's exactly what Josh Warrington did. So yeah, like I say, all in all, I thought it was a good performance, an exciting performance. And he is IBF World Featherweight Champion once again. Let me know what you guys thought in the comment section below. I'm out. If you're tired of the biased narratives and mass censorship on mainstream platforms, and you want to be part of a community of critical thinkers who love free speech just as much as you do, then come and join me on Patreon and access my weekly no-holds-barred, censorship-free podcast where we lift the lid on a wide variety of controversial topics. It's not mainstream friendly, it's not politically correct, but that's the whole point. We dare to stand as a beacon of reason against an army of insanity. Just head on over to my Patreon page and select the tier called Hatman Hot Topics. You'll gain access to a minimum of 2 hours of exclusive content every single week, including podcasts, videos, interviews, live stream Q&As, as well as my popular Confessions of a Nightclub Bouncer series. Not to mention a vast back catalog of hundreds of hours of previous episodes. You can listen via the Patreon app with the option to download in high quality MP3. We've also got an Element group where you can come and chat and hang out with myself and other members. Unlike Discord, it has full end-to-end encryption, is decentralized, and is 100% censorship free. You can also send voice notes as well as much larger audio and video files than you can on Discord. So come and sign up on Patreon. There's no contract, there's no commitment, you can cancel at any time, and it's cheaper than a cup of coffee. So I'll see you over there. I'm out.